halle. Just lato lahon kes na has on kes their husband. And he had sex and he take and fashion but hey, see out lato and top of the nest Sunday at tight and linky not skin. At how na se na date so le hiki. A quake a sent on a got. I could send not the acquire any tension on the follow. In this way, we help restore families. And this is an ongoing work, intervention work and prevention work. Ako the hashtag on nishiki to restore families at Niki. There's a different level of understanding. There's a different level of understanding within people. Understanding tradition and understanding culture. That egi ebe nahoto hajo nahoto desi iniki to eti noble. That's what we call is the key. It's the key for oneself. It's the key in families and it's the key in communities. Ako eb na to restore families. Iniki we all want to belong to the inside. We all want to hear a hasanet instead of only keep it in it. Apo what take for any kiss it think or assign it Nikepe has ani zen koko. So what not hot so unlet and geniki not kiniki hoti deniki. So adult niniki it's found in our fundamental laws, the natural law, traditional law, and customary law. The need what care a job is so think later and was so yet is not mata take kennas I don't traditional law dito na kanin la any ya I don't the customary law so here all in has done these roles of identity was established. It has a role. A matanitle, a jetanitle, a che, a tae, a mustache, a take. Once those roles of identity are identified, it goes into a role of responsibility. You have a responsibility, a modeling or a jetting. Hans posting where has those in the day. Musson that the link for equator. Hans posting when not in equare the door. So where bear not the hiki equator start to need start. We use our Navajo language. In Navajo language, what we call the healing component. Not the hiki, but the so quite the frequency you escape for not in peace. When you have to identify your role and identify your responsibility, then you identify what your teaching mechanisms are. Not finicky, or tishiki, non-skin, the your start, and a being that nasty, not so nasty, what best, Yahiki Eki Enan Kinahutlo. Hawan has Odon and Kin Petitne. For those Hawan has Odon and Kiniki significances are spatial foundation, Nabati, Niniki Mode, as Ahna Atta, Niko, Eta Wote, Aran, the Ashabik, Fona Atta, Niniki, at Ahetan, Linik, and Skin. Ako hotta na atada hotta ya that ke hotta hakke hollo pen mo ako ke na hono ende awan has adon an kinti niniki kwato ishi kwato ya atino ya ado ashabik ko na atta awan ko na hotte wani folieto nsis a folieto a folieto ponapa so in this way those are all molded back into the importance of understanding it is it relates to growth and development. Ako growth and development Nle khada shi awet etilito anosek pro as nle amato ajas kuisani to le hasa bi na hote hota ke hono ni ke tenani kini hota akati ti sana hoto to use to understand and to use to be understood. Ako etna to that's the key to restoring families. Nle kato nakaasin khal koshe kato sa inhanat say nle kha de shibe yata ho aden khana say kishana say akoti ni kisho ki kata shtahoto ni ni ki ti de hajo ho ako ato ni atonte uti to pinsil to kwai ki pahoye ti ga hosin ajtoli adole to tinto adole to nishi ki dishito hot tada adole hoto nishi ni ko ajo pinsil ajo ajo adole ajo khote no هذا انت خوي اللي كو خوش بينات دولار ايش يقول يا خمس وشي انه بانتياته بالخطياته بشنتينا واليهيكي واليهيكي بناتي the physical and emotional and mental maturity that هيك شوفت الشيء هنا itaho aton the khani yahiki entity yeso all yeti kwepti speaking na stil iniki ajo adon the epuisto ajo kata atini ajo kata ta otte ako the levels of competency goes up le khan Atahita so the fish ako in I get the things to be understood. So 18 is to understand Ado and the Azita is to listen. Ado na so be hollow Ado lash or list of na al hold it Ado Ado Lepita. So in this way, you're asking about how do we help to restore families. Ako ehikiti tesnan sin ye ta huye ko patisite. Say hotao to ni so hotao ti na hun tindole. Ani si ado le hajo po huiti pasti ni So hajo pinahul. So hajo if ako eshi pinina so ani hinsi tingoni hepehes ani anil zen koko pinina ado len hantan aile il ingile. Not so we just give up. We don't have patience, but you owe it to learn it the right way because you are the next one. So she egg for egg and does egg. We're identifying ourselves, but we're not identifying ourselves. We're identifying our parents. Your mother his your mother his change. So that your age we found age is ako akun pag si age pa at so ke no ke no at so hit no dole si de poho kiss making poho this is like you're apprenticing to learn something good. You're learning something that's valuable and worthwhile. Ako not out there at times or not out there what is and ako eti nakhanan agi eti de data gathering haniki esta in speaking. We have to look at the holistic additional footprints of what it's going to take to restore family. How do you document that? What does that data look? Those are some of the challenges that we have in peacemaking. God, ako siya hindi nito lesit sa shawing doon hawing paan gusto di as technique ko keno ko solo ke senda it ni siya do peacemaking bed ni paton ni siya. We are here to help you with the technical expertise and liniki. Ako what edo siya hindi nito lesit sa na ito kitin sa siya daholo.
Ma, you put me your word. I appreciate committee members. We have a quorum, and so I want to call the meeting to order at 10:40. Ms. Spencer, if you could help us. And Shamal, we're going to conduct business, and once we're back in order, we'll go back to your report and open it up from questions from the committee. Thank you, Shamal. If you could just bear with us for a few minutes, we call this meeting to order. Ms. Spencer, if you could help.
Amber?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Do you want me to read the agenda?
Meeting to order at 10:40. And if you or Heather can help with
the roll call. Honorable Amber.
President calling in from Sheep Springs, Navajo Nation.
Honorable Amber. Honorable Wilson.
Present.
Honorable Wilson. Honorable Nathaniel Brown.
Yeah. Present.
Honorable Nathaniel Brown. Honorable Eugene. Honorable Vince James.
Honorable James present.
Honorable Vince James is present. Honorable Gay. And again, Honorable Eugene So. Honorable Paul Begay.
Oh, Shahad, thank you, Deja, for providing that. What we could do is move on to invocation, and I just wanted to offer a Shema, Elaine, if you could provide the committee with the invocation as we begin to formally start our meeting.
So, pero paciensen, ang pose so presentin extra paritis so ni so ani de so na se ati ni ko kung na kin na khawlo ako pinda si pinda si ko don si presentin ako so hota Nasdit na hanlet on Tara Pinda Natas Kaiten Hota the next concert or Kiki for this at a for just 8 for the teams for hard on the to fight Natas to another for these are the special foundation teachings that aid the not when it is the not as long as hospital that's a name that's in sin. So we some funds say that yes yada ho. But those is the doesn't any fabric is but those or like on some yada John Kadon Lo Ekun, Skin Kun just non tap Haiti. Aaron the Kun the response was on the end and at the machine. So she Mrs. Hono Fondo les Kuhan, so she Nankin or Lini Kunden Kibes on it that Kunden Hanno Stado Kunhan, so she begs in it. Aaron the Takunha no Nishni Yashni no in front of La
This call may be recorded for transcribed.
Not only the Soli, the Noske, the Katina, the Snaton for the Snakosi, the Pensad, not the whole is. No ni to katan segan on de ni se tu si gaje tani pink on de kan so se hina ista on de not only can be fresh on and lean for hina ista so kan so se entas tanlini adoles tatonis tanlini ekdon hayanda tido an transportation con bitet honing so teste hona apo the habit no do les hondo to les ni de consendas eki con stande sta apo hot con kain what to les na nisintazi apo de na ani that in art transportation con One budget to non is Apo the habit of no or less snaz, not that but God says, run the whole long, the gate hollow, the hollow. I don't understand the stop the door. Not necessarily clean the door on for she when the owner. Ni long stop the door and it's Kadosa I see the attention non consistent better the legal for Kato at the way for how pena is free. I don't the house for shake the end has in the hotel and dreamy or tender. So alkos tatoni ka pues hotta khatan se ton da ho a hot the not en ni ke the not kun ni kisi tin te ni kisi ni ken takke ni na hatta to ta so kun da ta ne ko ta hot en de kun da se ta ho ho the day that the election council take back at the election the possibility go and get not needy at the dollar not the post that dollar don't hold either dollar the nothing is decent that this dollar is in that this dollar it's that's the dollar hala code as the technical beta that todo mundo necesita pasar. Adonde está, adonde necesita, hay que mundo. No all café, no todo necesita. Por otro mundo necesita todo le siguiente ne, porque uno on, so para ir ni gota. But is así this is being the sonnensle a monsle masonnensle a nallensle the dalsen the snini la a hota as the dos así a hota amato a jani the hotel den as the tahiliye hota amado ajani tino masando tini tle analata de que haspan que con hoste de not to le ala ship ni tini de plan ta to le hota y que ya hote ho de pues que hono a do le tini tle yo te tini tle ya te ya tini tle ik onder belang dat tot leeg ik onbelang dat tot leeg op de jij die net op een dus dat is wat de handen toch leeg dan gaat je nog wat leeg wat ik kon als tot leeg wat is tot een toch staat leeg wat we zullen ons tot leeg wat is net we zullen ons tot leeg toch ja de we zullen ons tot leeg toch shut now, proceed. Poisonous sleep. Yeah.
Oh, you bestowing that with wisdom and guidance. Appreciate it. So we'll continue to move down our agenda to recognizing guests. We recognize the number of individuals prior to the beginning of the report. Heather, I wanted two individuals from the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, Flora Ulgin and Tiffany Duran. They're the advocate coordinator. I want to recognize our relatives who are on the social media, Facebook. We see you from the communities of what looks like Yanta, Denahotso, and relatives calling in from Oklahoma. And for the Lugutskai Community School, a recognition that today they are being honored in participating in the Office of Juvenile Justice, the Missing Child Poster Contest, and the school has been selected as the top winner of the state of Arizona. So we just appreciate our schools bringing awareness and participating in some of the posters. And so I want to thank Lugutskai School and the teachers there for their participation. I just wanted to open it up one more time. Are there any other delegates who are on the line?
Madam Chair, this is Delegate Begay on the line.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chairman Begay, for joining us. Appreciate it. And then from any of our partners, advocates or coalitions on the line for the record, are there any other callers on the line? Thank you.
Good morning, Amber Crotty. This is Jane Jackson Bear from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Human Services.
Oh, yeah, Kate, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you joining the line.
Thank you.
Good morning, Councilwoman Amber Crotty. This is Tiffany Huron. I am with the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. I'm so happy to finally join the STAT meeting. I'm here for any of you who need, and I'm interested in attending this meeting a lot more. If you need a my email address is jiro@cscanw.org. And again, I'm the advocate coordinator. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shadeja. We will be in contact. We want to continue to support our victim advocates who are here on Navajo Nation or in partnership providing services. So thank you for joining, and please join us. Our sexual assault prevention subcommittee meetings are every third. We do submit an agenda, and our advisor, Ms. Green Spencer, can add you to our email list. So thank you for that.
Kristen, thank you.
Okay, not hearing any other individuals, we'll move to. Yes.
Hi, good morning, Chairwoman Crotty Shade. This is Melinda Arvizo-Siaco from the Office of the Speaker.
Yeah, thank you for joining the call. Appreciate it. Okay, before we move on, is there anyone else on the call? Thank you for joining us so we could have a robust discussion on these critical areas. Okay, I'm going to move on to adopting the agenda. Shada, Ms. Spencer, can you read the agenda for the record? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Closed agenda of Navajo Committee of Navajo Nation, 24th Navajo Nation Council, Sexual Assault Prevention Subcommittee, regular meeting, Friday, February 19, 2021, 10 a.m. 1, call meeting to order, roll call and invocation. Number 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. Number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Number 4, review and adopt the journals. There's none. 5, receiving report. 8, report by Roman Batui, Director, Peacemaking Program, programs and efforts to restore families. B, report from Jolene Holgate, Training and Education Director, Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. C, report from Matt St. Hillary, Deputy Executive Director, Navajo Nation, Washington, Office relating to U.S. Government Accountability Office on the inquiries about missing and murdered Indigenous persons. D, report from Chairwoman Crotty on STAT activities. E, 2021 outlook. 6, full business none. 7, new business none. 8, close the meeting, announcement and adjournment. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Shada, I appreciate that. Committee members, if I could receive a motion for the agenda.
Motion, Sama, Delegate Stewart.
Delegate.
Okay. Delegate James.
Delegate Stewart, motion, second by Delegate James. I do want to recognize for the record, we do have David Stolford with the President and Vice President on the call. Thank you, Shiash, for joining us. Are there any modifications to the agenda, committee members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. Heather, could you help please with the vote? Thank you.
Three.
Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes.
Nathaniel Brown votes. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Let me get your vote screen.
Honorable Vince. Honorable
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Public. Madam Chair. One not voting and chair not voting.
Thank you. I appreciate your assistance. We'll move down. No journals. So we'll go to receiving reports. We do have a report by peacemaking that is being provided by Shema Elaine Henderson. Committee members, if I can motion for the report.
Motion, Delegate Paul Begay.
Delegate Paul Begay motions. Thank you. Second,
Delegate Stewart, Shema.
Delegate Stewart, second. Thank you. Shema Elaine, thank you for your report. What I'm going to do is now open it up to the committee. Committee members, are there any questions for Ms. Henderson from the Peacemaking Program on restoring families and how we can continue to work together on these? I'll open it to the committee members for questions. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Not hearing any questions, Shema, what we would like that you have an open invitation to our Sexual Assault Prevention Subcommittee meetings are every third Friday, 10 o'clock. The missing and murdered and their relatives meet every Friday at 10 o'clock. And we'll continue to have a dialogue and coordination with the grant we're awarded to the judicial branch, to the peacemaking program, to assist with the community toolkit. And as we look forward to enhance victim services advocacy on the Navajo Nation. So thank you so much for your report. Not hearing any questions. I believe we're in order to call for the vote. Sir, if you could help me with.
Okay, Honorable Wilson, how do you vote? Honorable Wilson. Honorable Nathaniel, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Eugene, how do you vote?
Delegate James.
Honorable Vince. Honorable Paul Begay. Paul Begay, how do you vote? Madam Chair, have favor, 0 opposed, and 3 not voting. Madam Chair, not.
Okay, thank you for that vote. I just need to pause. Try to Ms. Spencer, if 2 are voting, what's the recommendation from the advisor in terms of having quorum to vote? Ms. Spencer, if you're talking, we couldn't hear that.
No, Madam. I think somebody was talking.
Oh. I couldn't hear them, so I'm not sure if there was a delegate. Heather, can you, the 4 more vote for favor? I'm not sure if Delegate Wilson Stewart needed another opportunity to, Delegate, are you still on the line?
This is Delegate Paul Begay. Voting green on the last. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Gay. Heather, is that aiding your vote, Kelly? Yeah. So 3 in favor, none opposed, 2 not voting. Thank you. And then just to clarify, Ms. Spencer, then are we in order with 3 votes?
Madam, yourself, you don't vote, so that's 4.
Okay, appreciate that. I just want to stay quorum. Okay, moving on, we'll go to receiving report. So the report is from Jolene Holgate, and she is the program manager, missing and murdered Danette relative. And so we can fix that was an administrative error. Ms. Spencer, I'll send you the correct title. So we'll move on to Jolene Holgate. Shadeja, if you could start your report for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Shadeh, Delegate Crotty. Really appreciate the subcommittee having me here today to present on a very important initiative that we started, I would say I'd say about 2 years. I am the project manager for the Missing and Murdered Danette Relatives Task Force. However, my name and title on the agenda is also the other hat. I do work for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. I am the Training and Education Director there. So we provide 4 main focus areas: training, technical assistance, policy advocacy, and support. And a lot of that goes direct service providers, victim advocates that work with survivors, and also just very happy to have 2 of my colleagues on the line. We have Floripa Ogin, who is from the Pueblo of Isleta and is our sexual violence project coordinator, and they will be attending these meetings regularly. So if there's any type of assistance or training you need in terms of sexual violence, Floripa is here to help. And you heard from Tiffany earlier, Tiffany Harone, coordinator, and she does an amazing job also from the Pueblo with our victim advocates, but also has a lot of great information when it comes to domestic violence resources, trauma-informed care, safety planning, and areas. So I'd like to thank my 2 colleagues for being here today. So I will switch to my MMDR. And so just give where we, March, we are 2-year mark. March 19, MMDR was established a coalition community members recognized within our communities to address the missing and murdered. To preface, it was building up of amazing work being done by Ness, who is founding member on chair. When we recognized need, we realized to take a multidisciplinary approach to the well. In 2016, I think many of us in the Shiprock area, that spurred a public because of and just community heart spirit that delegate legislation to establish the Sexual Prevention Committee, which I'm very happy still thriving, and through that subcommittee, we're able to come out with the work to support some of the efforts and provide assistance to the staff committee. When we took a look at these different intersections of domestic violence, sexual violence, we realized there was an intersection with the Navajo Nation, and we thought what are we going to do? Healing and encouraging communities? How are we going to, and what do we need to do to begin to address this issue from a very multidisciplinary and holistic? And I want to thank Shema and Henders for that wonderful support provided for, because you hit the nail on the head what you had to say in creating healthy to support healing, and that matters. So I just want to acknowledge amazing report. Really made my heart feel good. So our MMP is a collective of data, victim advocacy, human rights, policy development, and history. A couple of our partners we do have working relations with. One is the office speaker, Navajo Nation update, the Navajo Nation, Navajo Area IHS, NAU, Central Health Research, Genetic Public Health, as well as some other domestic health coalitions, such as the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women and Restoring Ancestral Winds Out Youth. So after 2016, we decided to look to different partnerships to aid with, and this was in April 2019. That very next month, we assembled a more formal MMDR team with that intention to create the Data Institute. From there, we just felt receiving input and stories and from community was. So in June 2019, we held to start looking at what proposed it would look, and that was in 2019. This was that. So from that, contributed data, clinicians, law enforcement, as well as some of the data. So to what is known in public safety, tribal, and I'm going to go ahead and. So from 2010 to 2016, the Navajo Nation Public received an average of over 200 emergency calls, and half of these involved. NNPD has about 200 police officers and 30 criminal investigators that cover approximately 18 million acres of Navajo. If we were to put that into perspective, all those people, this comes out to about 0.85 for every one citizen. That's not even a whole lot. Really, what's that? Comparing that, there are relatively 16 to 24 and then NNPD responds so this are great. Over the 106 rates that belong to loans. So we looked at that data and compared it to some of our Once the rule and 49 so 31 22% of teen and involved domestic violence and 4% involved. Unfortunately, there's little to no LGBTQ and two-spirited relatives. Understanding, going back, we were able to, and it was into more. So we do have 5 teams right now that are working simultaneous field goals. Again, as I mentioned, the multidisciplinary approach we feel is our first team is data, second team is focused, third team is to nonprofit community mobilization. So this would be like virtual awareness campaigns, things like that. Team 5 is our leadership. So as mentioned, right now we missing persons community toolkit, and these this toolkit would include is the missing persons reporting process, steps for gathering information, working with enforcement, emergency management, and self-care and awareness. So that was a lot of them. But if you all need
thank you, Shadeja. You discussed with a minute, or we want to just pause here and ask committee. I do hear some feedback. Line. Motion, committee members.
Motion, Delegate Searchman.
Delegate Stewart, thank you for getting back on the line. I appreciate it.
Second, Delegate Holbegay.
Thank you, Delegate Gay. Appreciate it. Committee members, are there for Ms. Gate? While we additional questions, Ms. Holgate, could you give us an overview of the community toolkit that looks like Operation Lady Justice and that's one of their focus to help develop community response when they're missing individual in the community. Could you let us know a little bit more? The team has the tool, future collaboration, Navajo Nation law, public safety, federal partners, to implement families who are looking for missing relatives.
Yes. I think if during the introductions, you all had heard that we had a couple of interns online, and one of the interns we have is Hannah Elzer. Amazing at putting us together. And so the objective of our toolkit is to aid families to how to work, mobilize and rescue with any type of emergency management agencies, and to improve communication between all involved. The ultimate goal is home. So within this kit, it would provide a roadmap to community members and families on steps they would need to take if the relative. A lot of very traumatic things can get in the families just don't start. Usually they're told, call the police and file a case. And if we know our families it usually ends there. If they're not able to support service enforcement or search you, families usually take and they become their own advocates. So we felt with steps that they would need to take, but such a safe manner. The toolkit is just primarily when these types of issues. And most recently, we were able to connect with the Navajo Nation to look how we would, because the other side of in supporting families, it would assist when it comes to someone who is missing. I feel like so in there where families who do file, this allows them conversations they may have with it up to make sure that and entering them into the mainness as with the also information so that information both is clear and they're so more recently there were missing and murdered Indigenous persons coordinators. We have working relations and youth as they develop community response plan. This toolkit was part of that key component. And from what I understand would also be used to support family if someone does go missing. So we're both kind of writing this and supporting one another in that. So not we do have meetings every Friday at 10 o'clock. Our MMA coordinators online with we have a chance to share information, learn from one another. So we make sure that we educate on behalf of families and ensure that they're in terms of communication, what it is, what are the needs of families, and things within that. So long-term goal that is we hope to get to a point where it's sustained and we can start creating trainings on how to use it. The training could be applied to Navajo chapters or it could be agencies. I understand there are CERT teams that are in place. However, chapters organizing, especially if relative more than chapters, community centers in the communities kind of become like the command post to mobilize. So we have elements. How would they need what coordinators should they appoint when someone goes missing and grid searches, the safe. And we're hoping to get some insight from our search and rescue partners to make sure that the toolkit is truest. It's truest um, in a so this will include the map of Nation, the jurisdiction map, so that families who fall, including Amber Alert. You know, there's a misconception out there that all children that go missing should have an Amber Alert. However, it's important to put that in guidelines. The nation in Amber Alert. So, for instance, Amber Alert is specifically for children who are abducted, who are taken, and their lives are in danger, whereas wandered or maybe a parent that would just be person missing child advice. So it's important to put education out there for families. In terms of going beyond toolkit, we're also looking how we're able to get some of the recommendations from the task force recognize tribal level, federal level. What constitutes when someone goes missing? We believe that only because resources should be dedicated to recovering someone who is missing. Resources should be dedicated to families who are going through this process.
to that act. And so I think we can have a report by Navajo Nation Police Department who administer that program and offer some suggestions and amendments to make sure that we're victim-centered in our approach on how we deal with registered sex offenders. And but what I'm going to do is, Ms. Holgate, in the work that that you do, if you could answer and provide additional suggestions to Delegate Stewart. Thank you.
Delegate Stewart, that is a really, really good question, and those are very valid concerns. In the realm of support, I think some recommendations that I would have would align with Delegate Crotty in terms of looking at SORNA on the Navajo Nation, but also how can we look at ways to support ideas, to support victim advocates on the Navajo Nation, because generally our victim advocates are the first line to help families who are in crisis. So if there is sexual violence that's taking place in a home or domestic violence, we should have a program in place where families do feel supported, that they have someone to call. Sometimes there is that distrust of law enforcement, or, you know, law enforcement may not be able to respond because, you know, that's their place of address too. So these are really great questions, and I think allowing MMDR to think about those different intersections that are also taking place is really going to inform our work. If I had some time to think about what those recommendations are, Delegate Stewart, I'd be happy to provide that to you at a later time, if that's okay.
Yes, that'd be fine. Thank you. Oh, Shema.
Yes, our next meeting in March will cover this subject, and we'll bring in other resources, like continuing to engage with the advocates who support the families when there is sexual assault, and this will lead into a discussion regarding the development of Navajo Nation Child Advocacy Centers, and the need that we continue to hear from our federal partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office that child sexual crime continues. There's no decrease. There's no indication of a decrease. And matter of fact, it is a crime that continues to plague our community. So thank you for that question. And we'll continue to engage in providing support. There are provisions with SORNA where they are mandated to notify community members when there's a registered sex offender, notify the schools and the employment. And so those are some of the conversations that we could have with the officer in terms of how they are providing those notifications, and then how we can assist the survivors who have to deal with that in the healing process. Thank you. Committee members, are there any other questions for Ms. Holgate and the report?
Shada, if I could add one more thing after they ask their questions.
Yes, Ms. Holgate, if I was going to ask, we have Ms. Henderson from Peacemaking provide a report, and MMDR was able to work with the judicial branch on receiving an award to finalize the community toolkit and to enhance data collection. Could you just provide a high-level summary of that opportunity and how the committee can continue to support those efforts? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Chairwoman. Yeah, there's actually two parts to that, and we could categorize this as steps that we're taking moving forward as another another side to MMDR. So more recently, MMDR did partner with the Navajo Nation's Judicial Peacemaking Program, where we assisted in writing a grant, a JAG grant with peacemaking as well as Raquel Chu from Judicial. We were able to secure those funds, and we're very excited because there is going to be a coordinator that will be hired to start looking at how do we support families of MMDR, because one major component that has always been at the forefront in not only supporting families is what does that healing look like? What does community healing look like for the Navajo Nation, not just in terms of the MMDR crisis, but when it comes to those areas that intersect with it, like domestic violence, sexual violence, drug and alcohol dependency, suicide prevention, sex offenders, how do we hold offenders accountable, how to spend a fundamental law and, work into that, and what holistic approach can we take to start having these healing conversations for our people. And this is where it's starting. So we're really excited to have this position created and working with the Navajo Nation peacemaking. The other part to that is we are also partnered with Gwinnett College, and we will be doing a second attempt at a capacity building grant with the ANA, the Administration for Native Americans, which is a federal entity that provides support to different Native organizations, nonprofits, tribal colleges, tribal governments to develop ways of prevention, fostering different projects from like food sovereignty to community gardens to violence prevention to podcasts. It's just a really great program that we want to be a part of. So this grant, we want to focus on how we can sustain the toolkit and also create that training for Navajo Nation so that our community members and our chapters have access to this toolkit. It's the first of its kind in the Southwest. I just want to put that out there. However, we did model some parts of it from our Indigenous Canadian relatives who have been engaged in this work since the 1970s. We understand that the missing and murdered crisis is not something that just started. It is not an epidemic, but this is an ongoing crisis that has started since the colonization of the Americas, since the colonization of the Southwest. And we acknowledge that. So we're here today and we have this opportunity to rewrite history and taking control and power over how we help our families, how we create and foster that healing, and just being very resourceful in how we address these issues. So we're excited to work with Gwinnett College to develop that programming, but also in long term, when we're thinking about long term, we're also thinking like, what types of trainings can we develop? What type of prevention efforts can we engage in? Could this be healing circles? Could this be wraparound services for families? Could we support, family search and rescue efforts when they're looking for their loved ones? And then also taking a very trauma-informed approach in all that we are doing, hearing the stories, centering the stories, and definitely shying away and not engaging in any type of victim blaming or any type of victim shaming. And I think at the very base level of what we think of and when we think of Hajon, those are non-existent in that realm from my perspective. But how do we create that space of empowerment? And these are just some ways that MMDR is trying to do that. So very excited to be working with peacemaking as well as Gwinnett College to see where we can land on these issues and how we can continue to keep this movement going. Sorry. I think we're all still able to.
Hi, committee members or Mr. Hanley, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I know that you were helping us with the background noise. Thank you. So I wanted to thank Ms. Holgate for that response. Committee members, if there's no other questions, we can move to the vote. So Mr. Hanley, I know if you could open up the lines for the staff. I believe it's, is it star to unmute the line? And so I'll call if Heather, if you could help us with the vote, please. Heather, are you still on the line? Or Mr. Hanley, if you could flip her. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Okay, Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Madam Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, and 2 not voting.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that, Shadeja, for the vote. Committee members, the next report by Maxine Hillary that was submitted via email. It is a written report. If I could get a motion for the report from Maxine Hillary, the Department of Executive Director, Navajo Nation, Washington office, relating to the United States Government Accountability Office on the inquiries about missing and murdered Indigenous persons. Committee members, if you received that email, please let me know, and we can move just to ask for a motion on this report.
I vote green on the last one. I was on mute on that one. And then this one, I did get the email on this one, so I'll motion for this one, Shema.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Stewart. Heather or Ms. Spencer, are you able to recognize Delegate Stewart's vote?
Yes, I have that vote. So it's 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, and I believe 2 not voting.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, if I could get a second for the report from the Washington office.
Second, Delegate Paul Begay.
Thank you, Delegate Paul Begay. Committee members, did you have any questions on the written report that was submitted? Okay, not hearing any. What I could do is, because we have an audience on the line, I just wanted to briefly summarize that the U.S. Government Accountability Office contacted the Navajo Nation in November and requested an interview with the Navajo Nation regarding different areas of the process when there is a missing person, a Navajo who is reported missing. And so they've asked the Navajo Nation to answer a series of questions. The report goes on to identify how the Washington office, in working with the Navajo Nation Speaker's Office, Chief of Staff, and the Office of President, Vice President, and the judicial branch with the Chief Justice have identified areas where they can answer the questions. There's about 35 questions in total, but our working sheet has approximately 100 questions depending on what area is the focus. I want to just defer a little bit of time to Hope McDonald Lone Tree, Shade, if you can just inform the committee about your experience with the U.S. Government Accountability Office and how this could help and assist Navajo Nation improve and prevent our relatives who are missing, and then improve communication with our law enforcement. Ms. Hope Lone Tree.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Hope McDonald Lone Tree. I appreciate the few moments here to just outline some of the opportunities here for this report. As many of the delegates may already be familiar with the Government Accountability Office and some of the things that they do. But in this case, they have, as Chairwoman Crotty mentioned, reached out to the Navajo Nation, to the various sectors, executive branch programs, legislative, judicial branch, and they have also, as you should know, reached out to various nonprofit organizations who work on or with families of missing persons or murdered persons. So they have sent a list of questions that you should have in your email sent from Maxine Hillary from the Washington office that they are asking of each of these different programs. So the idea behind this is they are going to provide a final report back to Congress on this particular issue. So we've been having meetings in regards to the questions that they have presented, and it's very important that we present as a nation so that the report that goes back to Congress is going to be reflective of the needs that we have here on the Navajo Nation. The last thing we want is the report to go back and show that there are more issues internally than there are needs that we have for our federal partners to help us additionally in regards to the infrastructure, and that could include manpower, broadband, whatever it takes to assist in this effort for missing persons and to help the victims of homicide and families of missing persons. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm glad that they have sent a number of questions for different areas of the Navajo Nation to answer, but we want to make sure we're going to provide a unified voice on the needs that we have here on Navajo. So when that report is presented back to Congress, this is something that the Navajo Nation leadership and the SAPS committee will be able to utilize when you go back to Congress and advocate for funding and additional resources. Those will all come out as recommendations in their report, and we will, as a nation, Navajo Nation, through your leadership, be able to use those recommendations and share it with Congress. They will be using it as well in their own advocacy, but this is one of the tools, one of the many tools that you will be able to use. What's also timely about this report that's going to come out is it will come out in the middle of the appropriations process. So this is timely. It's going to be able to help you. If we're successful in conveying our needs, it will help you advocate for additional funding and resources for missing persons and the violent crime on Navajo. So if that's what Madam Chair wanted me to report on, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope, for that recap. And so we did submit out the documents, and the intent is to keep the committee informed. And if there's any additional information that's needed, please, working together, it will be myself and Lorraine Spencer, and in coordinating the next steps when we'll finalize the date to have that meeting with the GAO office. So are there any questions from the committee regarding this upcoming meeting or any other areas that should be addressed? Okay, not hearing none. Thank you, committee members. And so we can move on to the vote. Heather, could you help with the vote, please? Thank you.
Roll call? Ms.
Yes.
Crowdy, hello? Roll call?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
if we could have a roll call vote. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Wilson Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Wilson Stewart votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Okay, Madam Chair, that's 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Can you
Chair
hear
not
me?
voting.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Oh, okay, there. This is Delegate Brown, I vote green.
Okay. Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. So Madam Chair, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. And 1 not voting.
Thank you. I appreciate the vote. So as we move down our agenda, committee members, this is another update report on the sexual assault prevention activities in between our meetings, and looking at the notes that are requested from committee members in terms of follow-up or areas of concern. I just wanted to provide an update on the SAP activities, but seeing that we're having some technical issues, I want to, I'll continue to chair this conversation, but I'm gonna ask Ms. Hope McDonald-Lone Tree if she can assist with that report, and we can move forward. Ms. McDonald-Lone Tree, are you available?
Yes, Madam Chair. And what is your request?
The request is if you could provide the committee the update on the SAP activities that were updated into the logic model. So that would be the Child Advocacy Center, the Data Institute, and there was one more.
Sure.
And the Peacemaking Healing Project. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank you again for asking me to present this part of the efforts on behalf of the Sexual Assault Prevention Subcommittee. This subcommittee has been tasked with some very important and I would say urgent work because of the nature of the violence and the violence that our families and children are experiencing and the trauma effects that impact all of our nation. So I want to thank each of you for being on the subcommittee and being a part of this effort. And what I will go through the list on behalf of Madam Chair. There is a lot more work that needs to be done, and these are the areas that we're able to handle at this time. And I know that Chairwoman Crotty is working on other funding opportunities to expand these areas. So the first one we have is the Child Advocacy Center. This one, as you all know, was supported by the council, but vetoed by the president. And so we're still working on the master plan for this advocacy center because we are not just looking at one center, but several of them across the Navajo Nation. So this plan is being developed and funding opportunities are being looked at. And so for the subcommittee's information, there are several pots of funding across the nation, whether it's federal or private, that is available for these advocacy centers. And so What we're working on is making sure that we have all the stakeholders together, that we are working with other tribal advocacy centers to look at their plans of operation and how they put together, so we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and we are learning from other centers on how they've developed and to avoid some of the pitfalls that they've experienced. So that in itself takes a lot of work to make sure that we have everyone on board, and these centers are going to be very important to the work that our law enforcement, prosecutors, and courts are doing, because they will have immediate services available to the victims and their families. And oftentimes, when families do not have these services, they are not very willing to go through the judicial process because they're not supported. And we all know what happens when our young victims are not supported. There are a lot of issues, personal issues that come out of that. So these advocacy centers will provide that kind of support. And when law enforcement gets involved, whether it's criminal investigation or the FBI, these victims will not have to travel hundreds of miles to get the forensic exams that need to be done, or interviews that are done off of the reservation. So this will bring everything here to these centers so that it will provide the wraparound services for the victims and their families. So the part of that I explained is getting some of the plan of operations, some sample templates, identifying resources, and convening the stakeholders is what we've been doing so far, as well as starting to draft the plan of operation and have a white paper available so that when you, as our leaders, are traveling to Washington and meeting with potential funding organizations, that this will be very helpful in letting them know what we're working for. Now, just a side note here, that child advocacy centers are a formal organizations across the nation, and so this is not something new as far as a mechanism to help victims. This is something that is already established. So we're working off of those templates from across the nation, and then eventually the intent is to be accredited. The short-term to long-term goals for that is, just as I explained, to convene the stakeholders, get those draft documents ready, prepare the white papers for the leadership, and then identify the funding sources and start applying for whether it's planning grants or operational grants. Those are needed. We've had conversations, meaning Chairwoman Crowdy and I, with some of these federal agencies who have funding available. So we're working on applying for some of those grants. To developed an initiative called Save a Child, Heal a Nation. And I presented that to the subcommittee a few months ago. And that is a project to really start making sure that trauma informed, so we're all aware and recognize and are more able to work with victims of crime and know the trauma that has been that they are experiencing and how we need to work better with them across the board. And it's not just them, it's not isolated to the victim and their families, but this can have a huge impact in the communities and certainly a burden. This peacemaking healing project is another very important part of the SAPS's efforts, because now this project that is being funded through the judicial branch is going to plant a seed to help that healing begin. And so I'm very proud that you have all started to work on this, and planting the seed is an important part of getting this to grow. I don't know if it's been reported yet to the committee, but we did identify some funding. Judicial branch put together a proposal and submitted it. So now we're going to be waiting for the process to have that program start and hiring an individual who will start developing the overall plan, identify the funding sources, and some of the training for our programs. We want to have a master plan for
This call may be recorded or transcribed.
Delegate Paul Begay on the line.
Thank you, Delegate Begay.
Delegate Brown's back on the line.
Thank you, Delegate Brown. Delegate Vince James, were you able to join us?
Delegate Stewart's back on the line. Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Delegate Stewart. I hope your mom is doing well. I haven't seen her.
Yeah,
Delegate.
She's
She's doing okay? Good. I see all my elderlies when I go shopping at City Market. So my daughters tease me that that's my office. So it'll take me 3 hours to pick up milk and bread. Delegate Vince James, were you able to join us? Or I believe if it's to unmute, it's star star. Ms. Spencer, are you back on the line?
Yes, Amber, I'm here.
Thank you. How about Ms. Heather? Were you? I believe I heard you right.
Yes, I'm on the line as well.
Thank you. Hope, were you able to rejoin the call?
Madam Chair, this is Donovan. Hope is not on the call right now. You have 13 callers.
Okay, looks like okay. What I will do is before what was committee members or Ms. Spencer, what was Hope on the master plan for the peacemaking healing project?
Yes, Madam Chair, she was doing the peacemaking. She was talking about the grant.
Okay,
that's where it got kicked off.
Okay, so we'll wait for a few more minutes if she could rejoin us, or we can move forward with our agenda. Delegate Brown, as Vice Chair, would you be able to chair the committee? I could finish the report and then we could move on to the vote, or ask any questions and move on to the vote.
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Chair Pro Tem, I will finish the report. Committee members, I apologize for the disruption. I'm not exactly sure what the technology issues that we're having today, but the third item for the report is the Data Institute.
Brown, so if you do not have
and so the Data Institute is what we've been working on is looking Navajo Nation right now. Our greatest challenge is collecting data from internally on Navajo Nation, understanding when an individual makes the first report, whether that's a police report, whether it's a disclosure at the school, or they themselves go to a medical center. There is no way right now in Navajo Nation on how we track those cases. And so we're looking to create, working with Gannett College, a Data Institute. And in partnership with our Epidemiology Center, they have been very successful in collecting data, analyzing data, and then providing policy recommendations. So we'll continue with that effort. There is funding opportunities. We received funding for a crime analyst for public safety, and we are coordinating with Indian Health Service, and they are providing technical assistance to help us understand how to gather that data and analyze it. And future developments will be funding additional crime analysts to look at what is happening on Navajo Nation and provide those reports not only to this subcommittee but to the council, so we can make better decisions when it comes to preventing crime and increasing increasing safety within our community. So I'm going to pause there, Pro Tem, and I'll yield back to the committee if there's any questions or recommendations. And lastly, I'm sorry, one other challenge was Navajo Nation has challenges not only writing grants, but the management of the grants. And so we are concerned that there was some federal funding from the Office of Victims of Crime that was awarded to Navajo Nation in 2019. That's set to expire at the end of this year. And in meeting with the Office of Management and Budget this morning, that there is still, there really hasn't been a drawdown on that funding. And so we'll have to work on if there needs to be an extension or working with our executive program managers to be very efficient when administering these grants. So thank you, committee members, and I'll yield my time back to the floor. Thank you, Chair Pro Tem. Delegate Brown. Donovan, are you able to hear me? And is Delegate Brown still on the call?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Yes, I can hear you. And there's Delegate Brown.
Hello, can you guys hear me now?
Talking about.
Yes, Delegate Brown is on the call.
Okay. Every phone call is different with different mute buttons, so I was trying other things. Okay, now, Delegate Crotty, are you complete with your report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Pro Tem. I appreciate it.
Okay, and now, do we move to, does any committee members have any questions for Delegate Crotty? If not, we can move forward. Staff, if you can help me with to vote on accepting this report, please. I think it's star to unmute. So, staff, if you can help us with that.
Heather, are you there? I can do the vote.
Okay, if you can help me with the vote, thank you.
Okay. Amber Crotty, how do you vote?
Delegate Amber Tanis Crotty votes green. Thank you.
Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Delegate Paul Begay votes green.
Wilson Stewart Jr., how do you vote?
Green.
Eugene So, how do you vote? Vince James, how do you vote? You have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting, and then 1 is the pro temp chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, let me give the gavel back, the virtual gavel back to Chairwoman Crotty.
Thank you, Pro Tem, and I apologize, committee members and those on the call and listening as we deal with some of the technical challenges this Friday afternoon. We have one more report, which is the 2021 Outlook. I was going to ask if Ms. Hope McDonald Lone Tree was on the call. Okay, she was going to prepare to assist with that report. And so committee members, we can move on to our agenda. So Ms. Spencer, if we could add that to the next committee agenda, thank you, because the presenter is not here. And then moving on to old business none, number 7, new business none. And so we'll close the meeting. Are there any announcements? Okay, no announcements. The next meeting will be March 19th at 10 a.m. If there's a council meeting, we'll send out that notice.
If I could get a motion from the committee to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Paul Begay, second by Delegate Stewart. Any questions or comments? We'll move to the vote. Thank you, committee members. Heather, if you're on the line, or Ms. Spencer, we'll need your help to do the roll call vote. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm on the line. Earlier, I guess I was on mute. Okay, Honorable Wilson Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Wilson Stewart votes green. Honorable Nathaniel Brown, how do you vote?
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Honorable Nathaniel Brown votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? And Honorable Paul Begay, how do you vote?
Paul Begay votes green.
Honorable Paul Begay votes green. Madam Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Madam Chair not voting and 2 not voting.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Shadeja. I appreciate your support, and again, apologize for the technical issues. Committee members, if there's any victim services or programs that you're interested in learning more about, please let's coordinate with Ms. Spencer, and we can have that ready for our next meeting, which will be focused on the SORNA, which is the Sexual Offender Registered offenders here on Navajo Nation. So thank you very much. Take care of yourself. Thank you, speaker staff, for being on the call, and for everyone who called in and provided the report, and those listening online. We have our weekly meetings on Friday, and if you're interested, please send me an email and we could connect you to our weekly advocacy team meetings. Thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you guys. Hug on it.
Thank you so much.